Hi, I'm Dean Atta. I'm a mixed race Black man with light brown skin, dark brown hair, which is short, and the beginnings of a beard that I'm not sure if I'm keeping off yet, but we'll see. I'm smiling and I'm wearing a pink shirt, and behind me is a big green plant and a blue curtain. And as you may know, I'm a writer and poet and co-director of the Scottish BAME Writers Network. And welcome to our closing reading. I am so excited. So now it is my honor to introduce our closing reader, who has composed the poem of today's conference, and it's such a joy to welcome him. So Andrés N. Ordorica is a queer Latinx writer based in Edinburgh. He creates worlds filled with characters who are from neither here nor there. Publishing credits include The Skinny, Bella Caledonia, the Acentos Review, The Guardian, and Gutter. He is featured in Ceremony, We Were Always Here, the Centenary Collection, and Crossing Lines, an anthology of immigrant poetry. In 2020, he was awarded a Second Life grant through the Edwin Morgan Trust. His debut poetry collection, At Least This I Know, will be published in January 2022 by 404 Inc. And I have an early copy because I'm a lucky person, and it's great. It's such a beautiful read with some brilliant, shocking moments as well. I loved it, Andrés. So, Andrés, I'm going to invite you now to give us first a visual description, say anything you want to say before your reading, and then give us your reading, your closing reading for us. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Dean, for having me. So I am Andrés. My pronouns are he, him. I am a man with light brown skin. I have a beard and quite thick hair that's grown out, all black. I think I said I have light brown skin. I'm from Mexican origins. I am wearing a dark blue shirt, and over that shirt is a shirt jacket or shacket that is blue checkered pattern. I'm wearing white headphones. My background is a teal wall with lots of colorful frames and artwork, and some fairy lights, and a bookshelf full of many colorful books. So I was so honored when Dean and B reached out to me to ask me to join and do the closing reading, and was enamored at the prospect of doing something on the day, which is very exciting, but puts you in a very vulnerable position as a poet. Not only because I'm sharing work that is very new, was birthed into the world all of maybe an hour and a half ago, but also to encapsulate a day that I think is rife with so much emotion and honesty and vulnerability from the great panelists and chairs, from Layla's opening, from Ajeda's reflections on the past year and actually the past 3 years of the network's growth. And all of that kind of to steal a phrase from the great Edinburgh maker Hannah Lavery, went into my poetry pot. And it was simmering throughout the day. And what I'm going to share with you is an early iteration of that recipe. And it might change in the coming weeks or months when I go back to it and edit it down a bit more. But where I stand right now, I'm very grateful of the inspiration that was shared with me today. And yeah, I just want to say thank you to the network, both to Max and Chloe for the BSL interpretation, for all of you choosing to attend this late afternoon on your Saturday. As the world, is windswept outside, but that there could be other things you could be doing, but you choose to spend time with us in this community, and I'm grateful for that. So that being said, I'm going to dive into my reading. I hope the panelists who have been featured throughout the day, who happen to be in attendance, that you see and hear yourselves in these words, because you very much were the inspiration for this poem. So this is In Search of the Wellspring. In the fold of a page, in between noun and verb, I was searching for meaning in the spaces of verse, when my ancestors called out with instruction, "Go find a wellspring that will sustain us all." They told me that when I found it, I would understand its use. I would learn how to nourish it. The wellspring would flourish. It would bring joy to others. It would bring meaning to me. I asked them, "What is this wellspring? How do I reach it? How will I know when I found it?" "Only when you find it can you know," was what I was told. The instructions felt like a riddle, and I did not know what to make of this idea of wellspring meant to sustain. So I ran my finger along the page and spine. I turned meter and rhyme over and over, but I could not find that wellspring within. I looked out the window when an idea came to search out others who might know more, where the wellspring begins and flows. I rushed out my door into howling wind. I looked far and wide for the next of my kin. I sought out their wisdom, asked for a blessing. One elder said to me, majestic and wise, "Look within, child, and you will see a blossoming river, a deep water spring. It will pour out of you strong and fast. It will quench your thirst and arid lands. It will be ceaseless and bountiful." But before I could ask any more, she vanished, and I kept walking and searching further for anyone who might know the answer. The words of my ancestors circled around me. Find the wellspring that will sustain us all. I realized that it was not only me who needed this spring. Only when you find it can you know, was what I was told. Surely, if others need a body of water to sustain, then others will no doubt be out there searching, or equally out there lost, far from well-being. Eventually I happened upon another soul who pointed high at a Monroe in the distance and told me to go there and find the answer. I stood at the apex but could not see the wellspring. There were rivers and fjords. I could see oceans and seas, small rivers, babbling brooks, but nothing called out to me. All was mighty majestic, but it did not feel like mine. The water was not a familiar blue of my youth, the temperature freezing, dangerous to touch. I soon worried that the wellspring was not even here. Did my ancestors send me on an impossible mission? What once was beautiful now seemed fractured, broken. The landscape's fabric looked to pull at the seams, hiding difficult truths I had not seen before. What once felt like belonging was not anymore. Perhaps the wellspring had long run dry, and the land of my past, home to my ancestors, a forgotten place I could no longer grasp. How can I nourish a wellspring within if I cannot find inspiration? If I fear I lost it long ago across the sea? These thoughts overwhelmed and exhausted me. Alone with myself, I was frightened by stillness, did not know how to move forward in time. So I opened my notebook and started to write. The words poured out without much control, but I realized then that these words were mine. I followed their trickle, which turned to a brook, which grew to a river that poured into delta, which morphed into sea, growing to ocean. It hit me in this moment that the well was not in me, but was me. The words I chose to write all along, I had been looking outward when the wellspring was in sight. It exists in the pages of our notebooks. It exists in conversations with friends. It exists in our hidden histories, the ones we are a part of. It flourishes when we are given space to flourish. It gives us joy when we are allowed joy. It gives us meaning when we offer meaning to others. The wellspring is pumping through our every fiber. It pulsates in each vessel and vein. Our wellspring are our experiences when we choose to share. It connects all of us in a network of waterways above and below. We are a community of wellsprings and will continue to grow. Thank you.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much, Andres. That is such an incredible way to sum up our day and to kind of recognize the work that we're all doing as a community and in ourselves as well, you know. I really, really loved it. And I think the poem really resonated with something Tawona said, the comment in the second panel where he said receiving praise from elders would make him feel like a shimmering fountain of energy. And that, you know, reminds me and kind of resonates beautifully with what you're saying here. And I think it's something that, you know, the Scottish BAME Writers Network does for so many people, regardless of like age or writing experience. We celebrate each other's achievements, and not just that, we celebrate and recognize each other simply for showing up, because we know sometimes that's one of the biggest hurdles we face, is like showing up, believing in ourselves because of all the oppression we may have faced in our lives thus far. So you've really captured the energy and the intentions of SBWN and today's conference in your poem. And again, I thank you so much, Andres, because it was incredibly beautiful. And I think that poem has a life beyond today. And I hope you do even more with it, because I just think it's a great representation of your journey, as well as the network and everything we have done together as a community. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I mean, it was just an honor to be able to really reflect on today. And like I said, I hope those who are in attendance, or if they watch back, that were part of the day, that, you know, they really find themselves in the poem, because, you know, though I wrote it, it was taken from inspiration from just these brilliant thoughts and vulnerability that others gave. And I see in the comments, and I also want to say, you know, thank you to Max for their interpretation, because I could see it in my periphery as I was reading, and that the visualization of words and that being important too, you know. I'm very grateful for the network for prioritizing accessibility. I just think it, you know, the network has done so much for so many. I was very grateful, you know, for my tenure being on the committee. I know what goes into putting on a conference, and I can only imagine how exhausted you all are, and you all deserve lots of rest. But yeah, I loved the idea, you know, that Layla put forth at the start of this idea of this wellspring, and thinking about bodies of water and springs, and how often, you know, there's moving bodies of water underneath the ground, and they're connected, and we are connected. And I think I've heard throughout the day people coming into contact with the network, maybe not realizing it existed, or living in very small towns throughout Scotland, and being the only brown or black person, and then realizing that there's this other world, or there's a bigger world out there, and the network has really created an opportunity of connecting these different bodies of water, which just was such a brilliant then idea to really play around with this closing reading.
Brilliant idea, brilliant outcome from a brilliant person. Thank you, Andres.
Thank you.